Hello and welcome to episode 33 of our Timberborn Update 7 Iron Teeth Project 1K playthrough, Cycle 66, Day 4. 2 days left before we have our next drought. Let's hit pause, and we're going to talk about exactly what's gone wrong, why I took time off of this, and what we're going to do to fix it in the future. So, this is a giant project. We already knew that. It was always going to be hard, but I didn't expect it to be as hard as it has been, and I know a lot of you certainly didn't expect it to be as big of a mess as it has been. So, where we are right now is we have 8,300 water, 5,200 food, 177 beavers, and currently we have almost all of the terraforming complete, and I left this little slit right here so that we could build our Badwater power wheel stuff again after we removed it previously. That's where we left off, and I took some time off of uploading videos, just period point blank, because I was so frustrated with this because I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to be doing, and I felt like people really were not having any fun watching this. So it took some time to reset, and now previously this evening, as I'm recording this, I spent a couple hours trying ideas, troubleshooting some stuff, and I think I've got a good idea of what we're going to need to do. But before we get actually building anything, there's a bunch of problems we have to solve. So let's peel these layers back just a little bit so I can see here. You're going to remember last episode, before the break, we had some issues with Badwater, specifically because I removed all of this. The pumping was not happening, and we ran out of Badwater, which is going to cause us, if it has not already caused us, and I think, if I remember correctly, we don't have enough to do anything. We don't have any extract, which is a bad thing because we're currently reproducing beavers using the advanced breeding pods. So before we do anything else, we have to have a pool from which to pump Badwater so it can be turned into extract. This is not really a great position to find ourselves in because I've kind of stripped almost all of this out, except this tower that I had this single pump pumping down from, and it's just not good. So I kind of prototyped something when I was figuring out my design I'm going to go with for this, which we'll talk about later. I think what's going to happen for this to be a viable thing as we continue moving forward is to just build a little pool down here on the bottom level, let it fill up, let them pump it out, and then just manually open and close that bit. So it's not just a 1x1 column that's, I don't know, 7 or 8 tall. We can make this have some actual decent volume. So in order to get into that, I have to talk a little bit, and I'm not going to exhaustively do this quite yet, but I have to talk a little bit about what we're going to do for our design for our propulsion thing. Again, I prototyped this, took a couple hours previously, and just laid it all out. It's basically going to be exactly what the old one was, except shifted over to go between these columns and stacked higher and longer here, which means we are going to have some levees go all the way to the edge of the map here. And of course I make a huge mistake like this right as I'm sitting here talking about it, but get that taken care of. Just all the way back here until we get to this column here, which this is currently the opening. We had that going all the way up. I'm not planning on moving where that comes out. It would just take way too much time, and it's not that big of a deal. So what's going to end up happening here is we're going to have impermeable floors all the way down on the bottom so we don't have Badwater infecting everything after it's all built. There is going to be some in the meantime, but this is going to end up having some water wheels here. Why did I start here? We'll talk about that a little bit later, but the idea is these kind of line up more or less with each of the, well, not more or less, they line up perfectly with each of these columns. And on one level of this, we build all of this out, we will have 1, 2, 3, I can't count, so I'm just going to click on it like a 5-year-old, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and there will be 9, because the 9th one is going to be right here. Obviously, there's still some other stuff we have to do to make this a viable thing here, but you'll see we have 9 on a level, and I'm planning on there being 5 or 6 levels. I haven't quite decided. 5 probably easier just for the sake of how the water flows, but that should give us about 5,000 HP power production. And again, we'll talk more about the other design later, but I have to get this first layer at least started because that is going to be the initial bounds of our little Badwater pumping pool, which we will address in another manner at a later point in time. But for now, we absolutely have to have something going. I know it's not ideal, but we absolutely have to have something going. So I actually don't even need that. So we're just going to end up with a little 4x4 pool. It's going to be 2 blocks tall. And then in it, we are going to have to do something about our terrain here. So those two can get exploded. That shouldn't be an issue. Well, that big of an issue. We might have to mess with that at some point. But the simple, easy thing to do is going to be to just pop that in. Pop that in. Once that's exploded, we can start with one. Just give them a little bit of a chance to, you know, do literally anything. Get up here and hopefully, not make too much of a fool out of ourselves. I'm going to have this here. I know it's stupid, but because of the way we've done this, this is just the only way this is going to work without me spending another 10,000 years trying to figure it out. This is going to give us a semi-permanent, kind of easy way to get something pumped without me constantly monitoring it all the time. Still going to require a little bit of monitoring, but that, once the second pump is in, should do us a whole lot of good without me having to babysit it constantly. All of this does have to go somewhere, which currently the only way to get up to the top is to come over here, which, you know, that's really not ideal. But we have the ability right here, although this specific spot is going to be used to, you know, contain Badwater. We have some places around here that are not completely built up that are still going to be possible for us to use to get vertical. And I think the easiest one is going to be right here. Except we have this to mess with, so we are going to have a little bit of a shenanigans thing here. I know it's going to be ugly. If you don't like it, I'm sorry. That's just too bad. We have to get this done. No hard feelings, but I absolutely cannot just sit here messing with this for the rest of time, or else, well, bad things are going to happen. So that going right there is going to give us a good opportunity to put a tiny tubeway station. They'll build this all from above, but again, we have to get something done. If we wait, it's just going to get worse. So this already is not going to be terrain ever, basically, because of how these columns have been put in place. But I can have this come up to meet all of this stuff up here. I know it's not perfect, but it's going to have to be good enough. Just trust me with this. So this should be right here. One more, I believe. Yeah, that'll give us there. I'll put a tiny tubeway station on top of this. And then, just because this is how this is going to have to work, I will put in... Again, I know this is really stupid. Go ahead, do it better yourself. Please do send me the thing. I will be very proud of you. No sarcasm. I will legitimately be very proud of you. We celebrate achievements here. But this will get them up and down, getting Badwater a whole lot faster than any other solution I could have possibly come up with in any of my testing stuff. And that is what is going to happen for them to be able to supply all of those breeding pods with extract and continue making dynamite, which we shouldn't really need that much more of. But it's still something that needs to get done. So now that we've discussed that, I know we're like 10 minutes in and we haven't unpaused. I'm sorry. We're going to get through it. But this is what we're working on. I'm going to deprioritize all of this with the exception of what is directly necessary for us to utilize our little pumping station, which I will then go ahead and prioritize like this. Just do our best, because that's all we can do. And then that is just going to have to be what it is, and we're going to move on. Now come up here, do the exact same thing. And that should now be a viable thing for us to turn our pause back off and let them start building. Now, the reason I queued that up now before we talk about everything else is because there's still a lot of other problems we have to solve. And this next one really kind of broke my brain, and I was just flabbergasted as to why I was having so many problems with the irrigation here. And I want to take a moment to go ahead and apologize to some people in the comments who were trying to warn me about, I think they were trying to warn me about this. And I just said, well, that doesn't make any sense. That's not real. But you can see here we have water at this level, and this is completely bone dry. For some reason, and I don't know why, this does not make sense to me, and I don't think it's possible for it to be explained in a way that would make sense to me. But this does not irrigate on the other side of a stone wall. If I replace it with, and I tested this, if I replace it with a levee, no problems. Absolutely no issues whatsoever. It's maddening. It's absolutely just tweaking me, and I don't understand why, but this works up here same kind of way because we have water up here. So I know we spent all that time putting all this dirt in, but as this drains during this upcoming drought, we are going to need to blast out a couple of these spots here, which we will have to have dynamite and extract for. There's a reason we're doing this in the order we're doing it. I tested, and what's going to look the least terrible and work the best from what I was able to do. Two things right here, basically in the middle, and then the corner, one piece here, one piece here. The corner doesn't matter, and honestly could probably just be removed anyway. But because this is dirt, it's going to be really annoying to do this. We're going to have to blast it out with tunnels and then delete the platforms the tunnels leave behind and then fill that back in with levees. That's going to be a task. But I tested it, and it does work. The reason why we're going to end up doing that instead of just relying on the water to be up here is as the water level drops below this won't be irrigated, and then nothing else at all on the entire map will be irrigated unless it is on the exact same level as this right here or this. I actually think it was just this one. So it's, I know, it doesn't make sense, but that's just the way it is. That being said, triple speed. Let this while I'm sitting here talking. This also bump out design. A lot of you guys really don't like it, and I think I'm going to go ahead and just kill this. It just doesn't make sense to utilize all this space just to get a couple more tiles in the corner versus like right here. This really isn't that much that isn't growable, and this one is a little different because the water is coming out of this side and it's all messed up there. But this, I guess I thought it was a fine idea. It's kind of not. It is what it is. But interestingly, because of that, I have these levees here, and that's already demonstrating my point from before about the irrigation going through the levees instead of the dirt walls there. So that's why this one works, and this one doesn't. And of course, this is coming down from above and coming up from below to a very, very, very limited extent. And then as we come up here, you see exactly what I'm talking about. So I really hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, I'm sorry. I'm really trying my best, but that's where we find ourselves in the situation that is really, really not desirable, but it's where we are. And you know what we do? We don't quit here. We figure out a way to make it work, or if it's completely impossible, then we revise our goal and do something else. So they're still working on this. It's going to take them a little bit of time to do that. We are in triple speed, so they are working as hard as they can. We've got trees that we're going to need a lot more of to build this entire thing all at once, which is, again, is why I didn't just place it all right there. The berry situation isn't tremendous, but ironically, us not having the extract is actually helping us here in that regard, because we can stockpile some berries before they can get used, and we can allow these to continue growing, which they are doing. We made that possible last time. So there's still plenty of good stuff to be celebrating here, and we are making more dirt, which, yes, is going to be necessary for us to bring all of this stuff back. So what's going to end up happening in now, and you're already seeing it, is I am, yes, going to have to time-lapse once again to put a bunch more terrain in, but we're almost done. We're so close. This will be it. By the time we're done with this time-lapse, that'll be the last time I have to do a terrain time-lapse, unless something goes catastrophically wrong. And then we'll get into more of the design of the other stuff. But I absolutely have to make sure that we can pump Badwater before things get too terribly far. So that's why I'm using this time now, since we have to take care of all this other stuff, to put terrain in, get a couple things accomplished, bounce back and forth as we're able, and hopefully keep the beavers' population from dropping too much. But this is the point where we're going to come out of the time-lapse, and we're going to talk about what we got done and what's going to come next for our design on our Badwater Aqueduct. Okay, so we're done with the time-lapse for a couple reasons. One, the terrain has all been placed. It hasn't been built, but it has been placed. Two, I ended up having to micromanage this thing a little bit more than I would prefer, and I don't need to, show them placing every single tile of terrain. We've placed tens of thousands of them at this point, and I am sure you do not want to see that any more than you have to. So what we're going to need to do now is make this automatable, which is going to mean taking one of these levees out, replacing it with a dam, because the flow is only 2 CMS, it shouldn't matter. But for that to be viable, I need to ensure that all of this bad water is not going to go flood the entire rest of the map. Obviously, there's some of it that's going to be objectively kind of unavoidable, but I think if I have it come out of this corner, it should... Okay, maybe not that corner because there's not a piece there. If I take this one out, it should just kind of go right here and then maybe reach around to here. and this should be okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take that out. Going to undo it. It has enough right now to kind of flood out, but if we have this set to maximum priority, we can take a look at what this is going to end up looking like, and that is tolerable for now. Just got to get that last bit popped in there. They'll build that. And then once they have that taken care of, I can open this, and they can just be pumping constantly so we can make our extract and all that other stuff. The population's already started to kind of decline because, well, we don't have any extract, so got to do what we can do here. All right, so let's test this. I'm like 99% sure this should work. But you know how this goes. It tends to kind of humble me in ways that I don't necessarily want to be humbled. But just get this high enough. Hopefully it doesn't overflow. This looks like that's going to be fine. And yes, it is going to spread a little bit. Maybe in ways that I would prefer it won't. And that is definitely ways I would prefer it won't. Okay. Look, yeah. At this point, you're all tired of excuses and you just want this to be done. So you would be forgiven for thinking that this is a tremendous waste of time. But I promise you it's not. Just for right now. I know. Channel your rage into doing good things for others. These guys are just, they're going to get infected, and that's the way it goes. That's life. Hopefully they don't, because I don't have a method of healing them. I just need this to go away, and I don't want to wait for it. We have enough beavers anyway. It's probably okay. Yep, 3 unwell beavers. Great. Causing a beaver pandemic over here. But these things will prevent it from getting any worse before it gets better. I know we're killing trees left and right. It'll evaporate. It's going to be okay. We don't have any more water coming in. That's the way she goes. So let's prepare for this as best we can, which unfortunately is going to just have to be a couple of these decon pods. Up at the top we have, say we need 5 of those. Just to get these guys doing whatever they can. Yeah, I know. Sure is taking its sweet time to evaporate, though. I'll say that much. So this, it shouldn't be possible for this to get any worse. This shouldn't spread any further than that, and they are working technically on getting that taken care of. So I'm going to let that evaporate. Yes, the trees are dead. We can cut them down. They will not grow back until things are properly irrigated. That is okay. Now let's move up here to talk about all these plants I just killed, because I had this whole mess that we already talked about. It's all connected. It's all related. It's the way it is. This disaster playthrough must continue. If you don't like it, you probably already stopped watching. But we need to blast this stuff out. Not while there's water in it, but when it becomes, appropriate and possible for us to take care of this on each level. It looks like this is just a tiny bit too high right now. And we also don't have a tremendous amount of extract, and we do need to be using it for other stuff. But let's put in here and here on this level. At the very least, it will allow us to replant a bunch of this stuff. This level works because there is water here. These don't work because there is nothing irrigating the pillars except this bit right here, because it has all this other... Look, it's complicated. It really does not make sense in my brain. But that's the way the game wants to do it. That's the way we have to do it. So this one's fine once water's back up in there, which it's not because we pumped all of it out, because, yeah, it's a whole thing. But getting this taken care of, whenever they have the time and the ability to do it, we'll be okay. We have 5,000 food. It's only 15 days. We're going to be fine. But we do still have to do a whole lot of other stuff over here. So, since I've already kind of demonstrated how this works with the levees in place here, I can remove these temporary ones that I had placed in for putting the corners, and we can absolutely get rid of this nonsense. But once again, it is it's one of those things that we just kind of have to do in whatever fashion we're going to be able to do it. So that can go there, that can go there. This, once this is in place, can get removed, and this can get blasted out. It's not going to be that big of a deal, but we're not making explosives because we don't have Badwater, we don't have dynamite, we don't have XYZ. Everything's been, you know, whatever it is. But the way that this has gone now is going to allow us, in theory, to have this set up appropriately to drain with minimal future casualties. And that's blocking there. That means it's going to come out this way, but it should mostly go off the map side here while they keep working on the rest of this. These pieces here are going to be built, and before long, everything will be A-okay. And I know that's going to go over there, but these are blocking all of this nonsense from infecting any other beavers, so it's fine. I say as it continues to grow. Maybe it's not fine. It really, it did not do this to me while I was prototyping this. Oh boy. Serenity now. Let's just build these two, and that should help. It's getting too much in here. They can't access this from this side because these are in the way. That's why I'm comfortable building these two, because they're going to have to come up from above, which is, of course, all the way up here. And it shouldn't be a problem. They'll just take those there. And that should not... Come on, man. Look, I'm about ready to throw this computer out the window and just say we're done with this, but I can't because then I'm a quitter, and then I lose. And everybody loses, because then we have a neat idea that doesn't come to fruition because I am bad at management. So... get that taken in there. I promise you I am trying my absolute hardest to get this to work correctly. Things just keep happening. And now this is absolutely just steamrolled itself. Alright. So now I have to turn this off again so it doesn't get any worse than it already has, and it's getting just incredibly awful. Incredibly, terribly bad. It's okay. It's fine. One thing I have learned, though, I don't want to do one of these challenges again, so enjoy this one. If I ever did something like this again, I certainly wouldn't be doing unedited videos on it, because, obviously. So, now that this has been completely separated, we can open this up again, and we can move on with our lives, and then they can build the rest of this nonsense while we work on everything else. And yes, the terrain is just about done. It's almost complete. So we can come over here and see that they haven't done anything here, which, of course, they haven't. They haven't had the time, they haven't had the access, they haven't had the materials. But soon. And since we have 13 days left, the reservoir should continue draining in a manner that is going to allow us to continue putting these things in. And we can continue correcting our mistakes with this. I know I have to have another forester on this side, but my goal for today was to have this thing complete, which we have not yet done. So now is a good time to talk about it. Talk about our design. Ignore all the red here. I have tested this. This does work. Everything is going to be okay. It's just going to suck for a while before it gets better. But once it's better, it's going to be fine forever, because we're not going to mess with it. But you remember what we did before, where we had the thing just snaking back and forth, and it was like 3 or 4 of these deep. So the design that I had done with that, just to illustrate real quick, I guess I have to take this all the way to the top so I don't have clearance issues to deal with. But what I'd done before was I had done 6x1 overhangs on the end like this. And because it was just long enough to have 2 of these back to back with the, the tips touching in the middle, that was fine. This one's not going to work that way because this is long enough to put 9 of these plus some overhang on either end. And we will fix this bit. I absolutely have to have extract before I do any other modification. I've just completely screwed myself doing that. But what's going to have to happen here, because of the way this is laid out, get rid of that, is in order to support the levels that go on top of this, we have to have clearance over the wheels, which requires, just so we can demonstrate this, 3 full units of height above, I guess technically 2.5 above where the axle is. So this is 3 units tall, 3 entire units tall, which is why you have to have the 4th. That's our minimum clearance. And I did math on the amount of materials this is going to consume by building it this way. So for every 6 of these, with the 3x1 overhangs, we're going to use 90 logs, 90 planks, and 36 metal blocks. To fill this same space with the 6x1 overhangs would already be more than that. It would be over 100 logs, over 100 planks, and it would still be 36 metal blocks. But we actually save materials like the logs and the planks, which planks were not in short supply, but the logs will be as soon as they start building this. That's just the easiest way to do it, and honestly, I think it looks pretty clean. So we'll just come all the way down here. Again, the 3x1 overhangs. So this is what this is going to look like. Just like this. And of course, we do have to have the levees on the sides again before we put any more things up. But before we get too carried away, we also have to discuss what's going to happen on this end. Which, this is the middle, right here, the very center of this. So I said I was going to turn it 90 degrees. The exit's going to be on this side, which is not how it's set up right now. We will take care of it before we remove anything else. It'll be all built. That's going to allow us, and again, this is here because it has to be, not because I want it to be. But we're going to have one more wheel here, which will get us to our 9. Right now we have 8, if I can count. This will get us to our 9. The center axle will be right here, and then this will have a levee right here, and this will also be right here. I have to have this stuff separated, or it's not going to want to work right. But that's where that's going to be. This will come out here, turn 90 degrees, go that way, but it's not going to start on the bottom level. And that's where our stacking stuff comes in, like we talked about. Just going to pop this in all the way down. 3x1s all the way down. And then for this to flow out this side of the map, we're going to have it drop down, the water dropping down on this tile here, which I cannot do right now, but we will when we get there. Just keep that in mind. That's what we're working with. So this has to get popped in all the way to the end. And then, yes, again, there are still going to be more we have to build later. We just can't do it right now. The most important thing is that we cap at the end, and then we have these impermeable floors all the way on this level, starting from the end here, until we get down to this side. And then, if you remember what we did before, we just line up with these pillars here. If I can click in the right spot, thank you. Just like that, just like that, just like that, just like that, just like that. And there will be the one more here that, again, we cannot do right now, but we will. You know what? No, because I can't get rid of this quite yet. We'll get there. So I'm only going to build one more level of this before I go back into time-lapse mode trying to get this done. I want to show you guys exactly how this works, because I know a whole lot of people are curious about it. Just drag this all the way out. This will need a couple more here, of course. And then this level, as we continue bringing all the way here, still gets the thing on the end, but that tile right inside is going to be the one where everything drops down. So the rest of this gets the impermeable floors. So pretend I've built 5 of these. The pattern's still the same for 5 as it is for 3. Water comes through here, drops down, goes through here, drops down, goes through here, and exits the map. Again, this flow is 2 CMS, so there's no possibility of flooding whatsoever. We just have to build it right first. And you know the drill from here. So just pop that in there, and there, and there, and there, and there. Thank you, autosave lag. And that's what they have to build. So we'll put this back on to regular speed here. We've got these cassavas that will be kept alive as long as this has water. We have all of this water that is draining down into the mangrove pool that we are, again, no longer doing something like this with. So let's just have this completely closed so this can dry out, and then we can remove these bits as soon as, of course, we have explosives, which we are prioritizing the extract currently, or we should be prioritizing the extract. Our counts of beavers are going down, so we do need to make sure these guys are employed. And you know what? I don't actually have a dynamite factory. That's a problem. I need to solve that, but that will be something we're going to have to do at some point. Right now, I just want to have the extract. So hopefully that makes sense. You can understand where I'm going with that. Obviously, these trees are dead and dying, and will need to have additional water popped in here. But now, because they just blasted this bit out, everything else all the way down well, except for this bit right here, has been re-energized. And I can actually show this to you without having to do it in a time-lapse. So, all we got to do is just pop in 2 levees there, 2 levees there. And again, I have very limited dynamite, so I have to be careful which ones of these I do. I do need to eventually do all of the rest of them, but for where we are now, this is going to be fine. Yeah, we're starting to get Badwater stocks up again, so I guess it's probably better off now for us to do an explosives factory. I know this is like super far away, but it's where I can put stuff. It's where I can put stuff. That's just the way it goes. So that's going to have to be a priority. These are not being supplied because I don't think I have enough beavers for doing hauling currently. Our metal situation is going to get a little dicey as this is completed, but probably is fine for us to pause another one of these smelters so we only have one going. And I need more beavers, man. That's why I said the extract is just so important. Because these guys right here, they're trying their best. They really are. But, you know, they can only pop out beavers so quickly. And the haulers can only do so much. So, recognizing that, I'm going to super deprioritize a couple of builders' huts. Well, I thought for sure I would be able to super deprioritize a bunch of these and just immediately solve problems. I do need to have some builders, but I have to have at least a few haulers coming in here, and I've got 20 there. So that should help keep these things running, and it is. And would you look at that? Yes, I know there's still some of this has to get filled in later, but I'm going to call this, at this exact moment in time, terrain complete. I know there's still more, and we have these pillars here. I haven't decided what I'm doing with those, but the way this is getting built up, I don't think we're going to be connecting these. I might even remove them. We'll see. And I know there were at least a couple of you that wanted me to have this a double back, but at this point in time, I don't think we're going to be consuming enough power for that to be necessary. And the amount of stuff we'd have to finagle with this to get this to fit in here is just honestly not worth our time in episode 33 of a series that a whole lot of people are already ready to see end with the goal of the 1,000 beavers. So that's where we are. We're using extract pretty much faster than we can make it, but so long as these guys can have a steady supply of Badwater, which is slowly going up, we stand a chance to actually get this thing complete in a manner that is not going to be completely stupid. So before I time-lapse again, I do need to make absolutely sure this is set here. I am going to run out of explosives, so I have to choose carefully, but I think this is fine here, because that's going to irrigate down here, and then this is going to keep this irrigated in this area. So here's what we're going to do. I've already laid this out. You can see how this has already kind of started to come together. So I'm going to time-lapse this for a decent period on 30 times speed, hopefully, so it goes a little bit faster. I'm not sitting here until 3 in the morning again. But we just have to have them do what they can do and let it be what it's going to be. So I really do appreciate your patience with that. We are going to have this operating by the end of this episode. I just need it to get a little bit more caught up, and then we'll be able to, you know, actually make sense of what everything is looking like. But again, it really does just take time, and I do appreciate your patience. We're going to do what we can, when we can, with what we have. That's what we've always done. I will talk to you very, very shortly at the conclusion of this time-lapse. Alright, so it turns out this isn't getting done nearly as fast as it needs to be, so this is a terrible time-lapse, and I'm ending it now. But before we get water back in 1.9 days, we need to... I know this is going to drain most of the rest of this water, but it's okay. It's going to fill up immediately anyway. We absolutely need to get the rest of these little irrigation pockets that I talked about popped in place before it becomes a huge problem. And we've already lost a whole bunch of crops, and we're going to continue losing more crops. That's just the way it goes. And I don't have another solution for that. But this is already dried out. So, we have dynamite. We have extract stabilized, mostly. It is still going to continue to be a pain in the butt. But we are in a situation where we're going to be able to make this actually work. And that feels really good. This level here, because of the corners and everything, seems to actually be fine without having irrigation done any other way. So that makes me kind of regret the way I did it up here because this doesn't reach all the way in the corners. So I'm going to pull a switcheroo. I know. Why is he like this? Scientists still aren't sure. But I'm going to pop this here. And then instead, because I have the resources to do this, and I'm 99% sure this is going to be viable, I'm going to take just these corner pieces out. Just like that. And then down here, do the same thing, but that's going to remove all the water. 2 of these, and then 3 of these probably is going to be about as good as we're going to get. I know that's how that gets set up there. And then, of course, down here is irrigated by what's above. But I remain pretty confident that this is going to be enough. And, of course, we still have this middle bit that has to get taken in. But remember, each one of these is a single extract. We have enough. We just have to have the beaver manpower to do it. And currently we are down 67 beavers in terms of jobs because, you know, we didn't have extract to keep the things going. It's a comedy of errors. We've been through it. We already know. So that being said, I'm going to contradict what I just said. Bang your head on the wall. It's fine. I'm doing it mentally. It's going to be okay. We can be brothers in misery there. But yeah, it's just a whole thing. You know the drill. That one absolutely does not need to go in there. So this is going to cause a whole lot of water to come out really, really quickly. But again, it's going to be okay because it's only a day and a half. So corners here should just about make it perfect. If not, we'll do it over. It's all right. Because this gave me a whole lot of hope, seeing this like this and how awful everything else was. But I did prepare for another irrigation thing. I don't know if we're going to need it. But just so we're all on the same page, that's what it's looking like. That's why it's looking like that. And we just have to let them do what they are going to do. So, you know the drill. We'll just get this prioritized. They're going to take the time they're going to take to do it. I can't really do anything about that, but it just has to be done, and I really should have done this a little bit sooner. You know how it goes. We have the time. We might not have a whole lot of beavers to actually build this, but we do have at least 4, and I guess technically 8 because we have the district center. Should be all right. I'm going to pause the dirt excavators because we aren't going to need pretty much any more of that. That should populate our, come on, pause key. That should populate a few more of these, and it looks like it has. Very good. So, again, it's going to make a mess. Life's going to go on. We will be okay. I just have to have these holes filled in because somebody thought that was going to be a smart thing to do. And that's that. So, yes, this part will be time-lapsed briefly. It's not going to be super long. But I do have to make sure this is done, and I'm not going to make you sit through another 5 minutes of it. Just a couple seconds of me yapping. So we'll cut to the end of that there as this starts to fill up. Okay, so I just barely had time before the end of this drought to take this back to open, or I guess conditional open state. We've been pumping water. I did put everybody in the pumps that I possibly could. Yes, those of you who have said this is disconnected, it is, in fact, disconnected. It hasn't been bothering me because I was going to rip these out anyways, but yes, I do know that's disconnected. Now we have a very limited amount of time for any amount of water to get down here to this level and continue irrigating our mangroves, which are growing and unfortunately don't have quite enough over here. But we have a setup for mangrove fruits that we should be utilizing. And I know this is not the ideal spot to do it, but I basically can only put a gatherer flag right here, and they're only going to be able to reach some of it for now. This is ready to blow, so that's good. We'll go ahead and set those off. And now they can continue working on putting the rest of this stuff in here, which is going to include, once I remove this here, and then I have to prime these for exploding, but I don't need to actually explode them. Then there will be one last piece that goes here. But for now, this is good. It's irrigated. We have cassava. We have eggplant planted again. We have nothing up here because I forget why. And then you go down more, we have our canola, and then we have soybeans. Then we have corn. Got a lot of layers to this stuff, huh? So that's the size of it. I know there's still lots of stuff to get done, but you know, at risk of burning out after like a 12-hour recording session, I'm not going to do that. It will all just take time. So that's where that is. We already talked about this. They have to build it at the pace they can build it based on how I prioritize construction sites. But now that this is basically all that's left to build, they should get into it a little bit quicker. And our issue now is just the workers. So I do want to keep as much of this as I possibly can. As this continues going into the drought, this will end up draining down to the level of the sluice, which is here. And then that remaining 3 deep mess can be pumped by what's left up here. But we have 6,400 water. If we just, for really, really rough math, just multiply by 2 for 144 beavers. Let's bump it up to 150 just to make it a little easier. 300 water a day. The maximum drought is 29 days. That's what we had last cycle. So it's about enough as it is now. Don't really need to stress out that much about it, but I really would rather have more water down here to make sure these mangroves don't completely dry out. And it's a 26-day drought, so you know what? We're actually fine. But I really need more laborers to get this stuff built quicker. So I'm going to pause probably about half of these just to keep this operating somewhat smoothly. I've got 10 pumps here. That will eliminate this inside of 10 days. But I do need them to continue pumping as we're continuing to fill things. Now, hopefully, we'll have enough beavers to come in here and staff some of these builders' huts, get this thing up and running, and then at some point have amassed enough extract to actually get this thing turned around, upside down, whatever you want to call it, and then that's going to be all she wrote on that. But we do still have an opportunity, since this is in progress, to pop in as much of this as we can so we don't have to babysit it. You know, that's our favorite thing ever to do, is just babysit builds. It's like all we've done this entire playthrough. But like I said, we're learning by doing. Well, I am at least, and I guess maybe sometimes I'm not learning, which is the entire problem. But this drops down here, which means this all the way to what we have already built needs to be plugged up. And then we've already put in all of our wheels here. They are building those as they become available. All we have to do is just match the pattern over and over and over and over. And then the last level, for now, unless there are a whole lot of you guys that want me to really just super stack this, goes all the way up here. Then, of course, it does get its own thing all the way down, if I can get that in the correct spot without things melting down. And then the very end piece is going to be a drop down, which means this comes all the way here, all the way here. Then this wheel just does the same thing as every other wheel that came before it. Goes right there. And then all we have to do, once all of this madness is just about finished, will be to blast out a tiny bit of land here, build in the rest of our stuff, and that is going to be that. So where does that leave us now? I guess bring this back up. We have to have a way to get power to go between levels. So easiest way for us to do that, peel this back layer by layer, and I'm just going to pop these all the way around the back side here. They just connect real nice. Don't forget we are going to have something else right there, so I do have to have that accounted for. Then do the same thing up this side, just every level, just like that. One more here. And then one more here. And we still have to get them connected top to bottom. And we could do it with houses. I don't want to do it with houses because that's going to just be an absolute mess down here. But if we wanted to do something maybe a little bit crazy, we could technically have row houses up here, connect them in the middle with a ladder, but that of course would miss the power shafts here, but it doesn't matter. Because now in Timberborn, of course, these are adaptable, and if they connect to anything next to them that can transmit power, they will connect. So one row of houses would do it basically anywhere along this that we could get them, but I don't know. I'm not really crazy about the idea. If you guys like it, then I guess we'll do it. But I was thinking just one really simple, keep it simple, stupid, whatever, right here, just right up and down with minimal weeping or gnashing of teeth, get the whole thing connected and just be done with it. Just move on with our lives. But I do think I would want to put it in here just because that's going to be the easiest solution to keeping stuff available elsewhere. So that'll get everything connected. They're going to take their sweet time doing this. You absolutely know it, which means it's obviously another time-lapse opportunity. But before we get too comfortable with ourselves here, I just need to make sure this is, yes, about to drain down all the way. I don't think we really need this much to keep this alive, but that's the hand we dealt ourselves, and that's the hand we have to play. So I'm going to shut down all but 2 deep water pumps. That shouldn't completely drain this. We did, quote-unquote, drought-proof, etc. With all of this stuff, and that seems to be working magnificently. In the center right here, which is what I was worried about, this just isn't quite as far out. For reasons unknown to me, I'm not really sure. Maybe that's because of how I have this down here. I'm not really do not know. But no matter what, we did something. We did part of the work, and it seems to be functional. So that is what we can celebrate, and that is what we can allow in this time lapse that is starting now. Well, it's already started by the time you're listening to this, but I said now as I hit the 4 key to put this in the 3rd time, so nobody cares. Move on. So, as they build this, I thought we could take just a second to talk about why I didn't go higher than 5, which, as we talked about before, has something to do with the reversing of the current, and if I went to 6, then I'd have to have it come in from the other side, and I'd redo the exit. I'd have to go to 7, which would push it up past the top dirt layer, and I thought it would just be smart. It's 5,000 HP is about what it's going to make, maybe a tiny bit less. That's going to be enough to power more or less all of our power for... It's going to be enough to power our power. Yes, stop it. Talking to myself, not to you. It's going to power all of our industry. Plus, we have all of the engines and stuff. So it's enough. Is it perfect? No, but nobody's perfect. Not even you. Not even me. And it's going to work. So we're going to let them do whatever they can do during this drought. I'm going to, of course, have to keep a monitor on the food situation and the water situation, make sure it doesn't get out of hand. But outside of that, I'm just going to let these guys build whatever they can build, amass as much Badwater and as much extract as they possibly can within the confines of all that stuff. And then by the time the drought's done, I'm really hoping we're going to have this finished. But by the time the episode's done, it definitely will be finished, no matter how long that takes. Don't worry. It's not going to be another 12-hour thing. I'm not going to do that to myself again. But I did promise you guys that this would be done this episode. So it's going to be done this episode. And that's it. I want to be able to say that I didn't lie to anybody again. But all that being said, let's come out of the time lapse now and take advantage of our completely finished, absolutely nothing wrong with it thing that I just have to connect to the centerpiece. I did want to show you guys that, so we'll do that now. Cycle 68 begins, and yet again, I find myself at the other end of a time lapse where we did not get everything done, and it pains me, but we have to move on. They've gotten most of it, though. You take a look here, they just have to build this bit. The problem is we ran out of wood. You might have seen me, peel this back, see all the crops are dead, just standard, whatever. That's because we ran out of water, because we didn't have enough storage, because we didn't have enough time, because we didn't have enough stuff built. Blah, 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 blah. Excuses are tools of the incompetent. All that stuff. Now we have a chance to fix it. Correctly. Hopefully. So, this is already set to auto-open. All this water is going to come back in here. And we're going to hopefully, I say as I attempt not to burp directly into the microphone. That would be a gross one, huh? Hopefully get this squared away once and for all. But we're out of wood. There's nothing else I can do. Absolutely nothing else I can do, so we just kind of have to let it be what it's going to be. But what this does allow us to do is taking a look at how we have all of the stuff looking over here. I'm going to pause the explosives factory, and we are going to start the process of migrating all of this to the correct spot. And like I said, that is going to require us to demolish a little bit of land, reconfigure a couple things. They're trying their best. They really are. But it's just the wood situation is the wood situation. These aren't irrigated. They are all about to die in the... oh, that's all of our pine trees. I hate this game so much sometimes. I really do. Well, you wouldn't be mad at it if you actually played it correctly. I know. I know. We are trying to do really stupid stuff. And we are having, as a result, very stupid consequences. It is what it is. And even the mangrove trees don't have any water. But without enough water to spill over this, there's absolutely nothing I can do. And this hasn't even started coming down here yet. Look, it's a comedy of errors every single time, and I'm honestly getting actually upset about this, so we're going to move on. I appreciate your patience. So, like I said before, this is as far out as this has to reach, which means every single level is going to have its terrain blasted away here and here, here and here, here and here. And then this has cassava on it, which is going to have to be manually removed. I'm hopeful that we actually have range, and we don't. So that is going to cause additional problems that are going to be very annoying to resolve. Yeah, I'm going to have to put in a path here. I know this is unauthorized crop destruction, but it's got to get done. Of course, now this is moistening again. Some of these trees actually did manage to survive that. I'm kind of impressed. Not gonna lie, I was expecting that to be an absolutely horrible thing that we had to completely redo. Now, those are marked replanting trees. I have my other one somewhere here. Yes, that's marked for additional trees. They'll just have to grow back. As one does. That's the way it goes. But the slow process continues. Once they finish, once we actually have wood, which, again, there's not really any way to get that back unless I demolish buildings that were constructed with said wood. So, this builder's hut, I know this is like pure desperation at this point. This builder's hut will give us 15 logs if I were to get rid of it. The campfires, if we get rid of those, will give us, let's say, 11, maybe 12. Probably 11. We can do it. And we have a bunch of planks on the ground that we don't have storage for. It is what it is. During the time-lapse, I did pause our industry that uses regular logs, with the exception of the engines and the food factories, because we do kind of have to have those. But we have done basically everything we could possibly do. And things are still going terribly. That's you know, showbiz, etc., so on and so forth. And we still have so much more stuff to do. It just is what it is. So, if you will humor me for just a little bit longer, we'll get this situated best as we can and move on from there. But before we do anything else, how many before we can do anything else is this guy going to have? Well, a whole lot more. We need to turn these pumps back on. I need to put my finger on the correct button. I got this giant cup of water in the way. Water's good. Drink water. It's better for you than, I don't know, basically anything else you can put in your body. Let's just get these guys situated here. This is the one that's not connected. I don't have stuff to build that. So now we have beavers that are going to go pump water. We're going to fill this up as fast as we can, as this allows us to do. And we're just going to have to let it be what it's going to be. But I really have to make sure these don't die. They got 14 days. I guess that's okay. It's just kind of a really, really undesirable scenario in which we find ourselves. But we'll get through it. We always do. One piece at a time. This, of course, has to have access with a path that we will probably have to take out later. This is actually in range. I didn't think it would be, but it is. And I know everything requires wood. We literally can't speed this up any more than I'm already doing. But we will get there, and we'll place everything, of course, that is going to be time-lapsed. You already guessed it, but I can't time-lapse until it happens. And we will have to also make modifications here as well. So that's kind of the hard thing for me, is trying to figure out exactly how this is going to be able to work. Because these platforms here are structural to this entire thing. I'm going to have this shut off for a while so I can take these out, because I am going to have completely, I guess we could say, opaque in terms of... That's not what it's for. That's not what... I don't know. How was my brain this Friday? I took a week off doing this, and I still can't think. Maybe that's a lesson to be learned. I don't know, but we're gonna do our best, because that's all we can do. And if that's not good enough, then nothing ever will be. So, this is the highest I'm going to do this for right now, so I don't need to blow this up, or do I? No, I absolutely do. That is disappointing. Well, that'll go there. That'll go there. This also is going to have to go, which... You know what? We don't even need this. We don't even need this. That shouldn't even be pumping anyway. That can go away. Everything up to actually... Oh, this is going to be dangerous. I hope I don't do it incorrectly, but that's going to give us some wood there. And then this will have to have, I guess all the rest of this blown up as well. Well, there's something I was not expecting to be able to get rid of here. There's actually somewhere some logs in this. 27 of them, in fact. I know it's not going to go very far with you know, everything we've been trying to do, but every little bit matters. That's what we've been saying this whole time. All right, so this comes in here, comes in here. Now we can finally do this the way we're supposed to be doing it. So this is going to have a drop down here. Obviously, I can't have anything here yet, and I can't take this out because this has to be removed. But that's where it's going to drop down onto this level. We can build up from there, level by level, and not have to worry about too much else. I'm going to leave... I guess, man, see, I really should have thought about this a little bit harder, because I had the whole thing laid out. And it was going to work absolutely perfectly fine, and there would be no problems ever for the rest of time. I think I probably don't even need to have this stacked like this. I just needed that one bit at the bottom. So, if you will excuse me, forgive me, so on and so forth, I'm going to have to hit pause on the recording and think about this, and then come back. I'm not going to build anything, but I got to think about it. So I'll see you in just a little bit. Alright, so I thought about it for a couple minutes, and it's embarrassing it took me that long, but I realized all I have to do is just make it possible to duplicate this on the other end. I was trying way too hard to keep from having to delete any additional terrain, and that is just obviously not going to work. So, we'll come back to this. Have to have them take care of that, but it's just a really complicated thing we're trying to do here. And I guess they need a little bit more space, so I'll give it to them. Let them do that. We still don't have wood. That hasn't changed. That probably won't change for a very long time, and I'm going to end up leaving this running while I cook dinner in a little bit. So, it's fine. It is what it is. We're going to let these guys get the rest of their explosions in. Hit B for boom. And just continue getting all of this completely fixed as best as we can within our abilities. I don't need to run through that whole spiel again, but this, at long last, once this one's complete at least, will give us the option to get everything perfectly set up, and there will be no weeping or gnashing of teeth. Now, I know I have this set up as a levee down here, but that costs 12 logs, and we don't have a lot of logs right now. So at risk of, you know, upsetting the space-time continuum and all that other stuff, I might just not make this corner bit a levee, because that would save me, I don't know, like 100 logs by the time we're done. It's going to depend on how the rest of this ends up going, because they do still have to build all of that, and that is going to take time. And some of this can be removed when we get to that point. But for now, we have the entire thing free, ready to go, except for what is, you know, blocked by all this mess, which will have to be completely disassembled. But the reason I hadn't done that yet is because we have to have extract to keep the beavers alive. Well, not to keep them alive, but to keep them reproducing. And we have to have enough Badwater. We have about 300, 250-ish. And that number is unfortunately not able to grow very quickly because we are using it to make extract, but our population is slowly climbing a little bit closer to where it should be, around the 190 to 200 range by the end of this episode, maybe. We just have a whole lot of stuff to babysit that it ends up being like, okay, well, this is way too much stuff going on. But is what it is. I'm going to pause these so they're not drawing the power, because I know that's probably consuming a little bit more than we need it to be. These logs obviously are needed for the engine, and none of this stuff... Oh, there are some logs in here. Never mind. I stand thoroughly corrected. Let's give them a little bit of a chance here to collect that by shoving it up to the top where they can reach it. That'll help us just a tiny bit. Get some decent log stuff taken care of. So, we've already kind of talked about how this is supposed to work. I just had to have everything else cleared, and I guess that this top level doesn't have to have that stuff removed, but everything down here is perfectly fine, ready to go. I just need to be able to have the confidence to pull the trigger on shutting all of it off. But that is, of course, going to take time as we get additional logs. So we've got these growing back again, finally. Just going to have to wait for it. So while we're doing that, I'm going to take a quick look at my notes. Most of that was, you know, people saying, hey, stop trying to, you know, put yourself in the ground making beaver videos and all that. And then I ended up listening to them, took a week off. But now we still have to get stuff done. We talked about putting in the all the forester stuff last time. We talked about what we're going to plant where. I talked about how we had to blast the tunnels to get irrigation done, and we actually did get that accomplished. We have a nice long temperate cycle here too, going into day 6 with our drought warning, about as long as it possibly could be. And we have enough water stored, more or less, for a mid-20 day drought. So I'm feeling really good about where we are. We're just trying to play catch up and make sure that everything can get done. It's just all going to depend on the logs. So I figured right now, while we're waiting for that, and we're not building anything, I'd go ahead and do the end of episode appreciation for the beard boosters and time-lapse a whole bunch of stuff. That's how hungry I am. Time-lapse a whole bunch of stuff for them actually growing things this whole time, and then come back after the end of that to complete things out. Because I know you guys love it when I shuffle things around so much, but I really do appreciate your support with these. I legitimately cannot do it without the people who are subsidizing the channel and making it possible to, you know, take a week off for my own personal sanity and take care of real-life things. Or to just say, you know what? We don't need to post this 4 times a week. We don't need to have sponsorships for stuff that people don't want to buy. We don't need to try to, you know, play the algorithm every single day and do clickbait stuff. Like, I just want to play the game and have a good time playing the game and have a good time talking to people. As soon as all that stuff stops happening, then that's when I'm done with this. But for the time being, and for the foreseeable future, as far as I can tell, this is still going to be a whole lot of fun, and it's going to be fun to tackle challenges with everybody, and just enjoy the benefits of community in a world that is so starving for that stuff. I try to be helpful, uplifting, so on and so forth with all of that stuff. But again, I really do appreciate those folks more than you can ever understand. It makes a huge difference in my life, and I hope that in some small way these videos can make a difference in yours. But that being said, we're going to end this time-lapse here and tackle the very last bit of this, which is building the rest of this with the logs that we've accrued this entire time, of just leaving it the way that it needs to be to accrue things, and we will move on from there. Okay, so we have 17 days left in our current drought. Got lucky with a pretty short one, so that's going to be great. We have 10,000 water. Food's food. We don't have logs, but they're growing, and the most annoying part of our construction is functionally complete. There's still a tiny bit more to be done down here, and they haven't quite gotten all of it, but I feel comfortable at this point in time turning this off and letting everything drain out, slowly disassemble what we have to disassemble to let this be what it needs to be, and then move on from there. So that has been paused. There's nothing else coming out here, which means we don't need this entire half of the thing here. We only have to have the bit that is going to keep the Badwater in on that side, which means all of this is going to be gone, and I will make sure before I delete it that it can actually be gone. But we just need to match up this height here, which is level 16, with this here, which is going to be a single levee. And then once that's gone, also it's low enough now where this isn't going to spill. This can go away once I remove the stuff that's on top of it. That can go away. That can go away. This whole bit right here can also go away. And then we can disassemble everything else associated with these 5 squares all the way down to where this connects to the top of our little cavern here. So take that out very easily. Very, very, very easily. Recover a whole lot of wood. This bit also can completely go away. That's gone. That's gone. And now we are left with this weird-shaped monstrosity. And then, of course, I finger slip on the mute button as I stop sneezing. That's how this has gone. But I am pretty confident that I can just, you know, take a couple more of these things out, and that's going to be about as good as I can get without completely modifying everything. So that gets us to this bit here, which is what it has to be for us to connect to all of this nonsense. These things up top here are not going to be required, but I may leave them in place just so we can have a cap on this and no bad stuff occurs, so we don't flood. Just all gets forced out here. The thing that's going to be a challenge is removing all of this bit without flooding anything. Remember, this is a direct access to the Badwater discharge as it stands now. This entire thing has to move. So does this. So these 3 all have to go away. I have to make a value judgment at this exact point in time how much damage will be caused if I delete 1 square and allow all of this bad water to drain out. I think it's only like 20-25 cubes worth. And depending on which one I delete, it could just harmlessly flow through here. So, because this is, you know, attached, it's not attached on the back. Let's keep that very much in mind. It's going to want to go that way. But we take this out. Make sure before we do anything else that this has... Oh, it does. I must have placed it on top of one. That's fine. I know we have very limited logs, but we cannot allow this to flood through here. This is about to be dry, which is a good thing because we don't need to keep this around either. We just need to make sure we don't run out of extract, but we shouldn't when the time comes down to it. We're going to have to have another solution for pumping, but I've got ideas that include replacing these dirt excavators with a little pond on the end here after it's all finished and just shove it through this way. But for the time being, we have all of this that can be removed and harvested for the sake of recovering some logs. So that is going to help solve a lot of our issue right there. Easy. Logs on the ground, something, etc., so on and so forth. All we got to do to prevent absolute catastrophe is just have this blocked off and then make sure that... Because remember, I can't delete all of these since it's structural for the entire thing. I just need to replace this bit. I only have to have enough of this blocked off to where it's not going to flood the entirety of everything over here, which is going to mean I build like that. I know this seems kind of dumb to do it this way, and it's still going to cost more logs than we currently have, but that's the best I can do. It's just going to flow off the edge of the map, it's going to fall straight down, and it's going to be a lot all at once, and I do not want to poison these trees because we have to have them finished so we can actually use all the logs. And I don't want to sit here and wait for 8,000 years. Also, they still haven't built these wheels because at the very, very, very bottom. But let's get this on 30 times speed. Let them collect what they got to collect to take care of that. And then do my best to get you on your way. Because I already did do the end of episode acknowledgements for everything. But you know how it goes. So they should make relatively quick work of that. Again, we have tons of water, tons of food. Everything is looking fantastic. And they're making some nice progress here. Just don't get trapped inside, because I do not want to do any silly billy rescues, especially not after all this other nonsense we've gone through. And they can't reach this. Okay. Well. Any of these not substantially far along? I guess not. Okay. Well, it's fine. I'll just delete that. It's going to be okay. Don't worry about it. Get these things done. One more. Come on, do this before the end of the workday, please, and thank you. Just about. Come on. I know you can do it. I know you can do it. I know you didn't do it. Okay, you did it. Never mind. All right, so that's complete. Now, this is the part where I find out just how much of a stupid idiot I actually am. Let's take out... Oh, this is so scary. Because I also have to get rid of these irrigation barriers here, but it shouldn't pollute. Take those out. Take these out, which, yes, that's a lot of stuff. It's going to cause a big mess. But it's going to be okay, because we decided it was going to be okay. And if it's not okay, then, well, that's just the way it goes. But you remove that. All of this nasty water comes out really, really quick. And it just flows harmlessly out the side here. And eventually, out here, we don't have any wheels because, of course not. But that has saved me so much stress having this just figured out. So everything is going to be totally fine. Let's pop that in that way, which is going to allow us to put in the water wheel. Well, I guess having that deprioritized is good because these are 25 logs each. But now, because this is done the way that it's supposed to be done, I can just build the rest of this, and we can all move on with our lives. Also, this one has to get taken out. How did I forget that? All right. Now, we're actually ready. Because that has to be placed with a levee like this. Very good. And once all of this nasty goes away, then I take these out. I know this has poisoned these trees anyhow, but there's really almost nothing else that could possibly be done. Oh, they're actually recovering, some of them. Alright, well, you know what? That's fine. That's the way it goes. Some of you are probably ready to absolutely hunt me for sport because I won't stop saying that's the way it is, but at risk of being hunted for sport, that's the way it goes. Okay, you know what? This actually isn't supporting anything here. This can be safely removed. Alright. Now, we're actually able to complete this. Alright. So, you already know that goes there. I will spare you the rest of the nonsense. I'm going to do this in time-lapse. I'm going to get this whole thing set up right here while I'm talking. And maybe they'll build it. Maybe they won't. But it's going to be done. It's going to be done. It's going to be complete, and we're not going to have to worry about it ever again because it's going to work perfectly, and there will be no other problems ever for the history of the rest of this playthrough, and we can have a fun and happy time getting to 1,000 beavers, and we can all go home and have a good night's sleep. So now, that's what's happened. No matter what, whether they finish building or not, it is complete. Completely designed at the very least. And that's that. So, I appreciate you. Thanks for watching this whole video. It took me a whole long time to make, but it's not 3 a.m. and I'm going to bed, and tomorrow I'm going to have a great time not making a beaver video. I do appreciate you. I do still love this game, but this playthrough's a lot. It's just a lot, but I think it's going to be worth it. Have a great day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care, stay safe, have fun. Bye-bye.